Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've ever sat down at your desk, totally determined to get to work, only to find yourself aimlessly scrolling on your phone 5 minutes later, or maybe jumping between a dozen different tabs without actually finishing anything, well, I want you to know right off the bat, you are absolutely not alone. In our hyper-connected world, with the endless scrolling and constant barrage of notifications, your attention has literally become one of your most valuable and honestly most fragile resources. So let's dive into this and figure out what is actually going on in our minds.
Actually, take a quick pause with me right now. Where is your attention going in this exact second? Are you fully here with me, or is part of your brain already drifting to an email you forgot to send? It's tricky, right? And hey, since we're talking about directing our focus, I'd love to ask you to direct your attention spotlight for just a brief moment to the like and subscribe buttons right down below. It genuinely supports the channel and helps us keep making more explainers exactly like this one for you. All right, focus back. Let's get into it.
You know, what's really fascinating here is how we completely need to reframe this struggle. So many of us are constantly beating ourselves up thinking, I just have no discipline or I have zero willpower, but that is simply not true. The real issue is not productivity. It is attention management. We struggle because, well, no one ever taught us how attention actually works or what invisible forces are constantly yanking it around. It's really not about forcing yourself to just work harder. It's about understanding how to gently and effectively manage this incredibly finite resource. So, let's break it down. What exactly is attention? At its core, attention is your brain's remarkable ability to focus on specific information while actively tuning everything else out. It's a filter. I actually love the metaphor of a spotlight. Whatever your attention shines on naturally becomes clearer, stronger, and way more dominant in your reality. And meanwhile, everything outside that spotlight just sort of fades into the background. Your attention quite literally shapes your reality. It influences your emotions, and it guides your everyday decisions.
Psychologists generally break this whole concept down into three main types. First up, there's selective attention. This is your ability to choose one specific thing to focus on while blocking out distractions. Then we have sustained attention, which is basically your mental endurance, staying focused on that one task over a stretch of time. And finally, there's divided attention, which is trying to focus on multiple things at once. Now, spoiler alert, while divided attention sounds like this amazing superpower, it's actually a huge misunderstanding, and we're going to joyfully debunk that in just a minute. But first, looking at the contrast between these states brilliantly highlights why this matters so much. In today's digital landscape, our attention is constantly under siege by apps and platforms literally engineered to hijack our focus. When your attention is scattered, the results are immediate and frankly chaotic. Your productivity tanks, your stress skyrockets, your thinking gets super foggy, and your emotional balance is totally thrown out of whack. But look at the flip side. When your attention is calmly focused, you work efficiently. You make way better decisions. You feel this profound sense of control, and you get so much more deep satisfaction out of your day. It's not about magically finding more hours in the day. It's about how you wield your attention within the time you have.
So, the million-dollar question: what exactly is stealing our focus? Because as we've established, we can't just blame a lack of willpower anymore. There are very real internal and external forces constantly tugging at your brain's processing power. We can group these into four major focus thieves. First up is cognitive load. Your brain only has so much processing capacity. When you're trying to juggle emails, messages, and deep work all at the same time, you completely overload that capacity, making it basically impossible to concentrate. Second is your environment. Noise, constant interruptions, or honestly, even just having your phone sitting visibly on your desk drains your focus because your brain is subconsciously anticipating an interruption. Third is physical energy. A tired, sleep-deprived brain is always going to struggle to maintain attention, no matter how much willpower you think you have. And fourth is motivation. If a task feels pointless, your brain naturally resists it and goes hunting for something, anything, more rewarding. Diving into the neuroscience behind this just a bit, and I promise to keep it super simple and relatable, you have your prefrontal cortex. That's your rational manager. It helps you plan and stay on track. But your emotional centers, like the amygdala, are constantly scanning your environment for stress and threats. When you're overwhelmed, that amygdala can just completely hijack your attention. And then, of course, there's dopamine, our motivation chemical. If your current work isn't giving you a dopamine hit, your brain naturally starts craving a quick fix, like, say, checking your phone for the 20th time. So please be kind to yourself here. Your brain isn't actively trying to sabotage your career. It's just doing what brains do, seeking a reward or reacting to stress. Okay, now it is time to confidently tackle one of the absolute biggest misconceptions in modern productivity: the total myth of multitasking.
We have been conditioned for years to believe that juggling multiple demanding tasks at once makes us these highly efficient overachievers.
But the harsh truth, it is entirely an illusion. Your brain literally cannot process multiple demanding cognitive tasks at the exact same time. What you are actually doing is rapid task switching. And to do this, your brain has to violently slam the brakes on one task, completely shift its attention, and then try to boot up and refocus on the new task. You aren't doing two things at once, you're just relentlessly interrupting your own thinking over and over again.
And let me tell you, that rapid switching comes with a really heavy cost. Research shows that task switching drastically reduces your overall efficiency, it significantly increases the mistakes you make, it slows down your performance, and it totally drains your mental battery. If you're trying to write a report while periodically checking messages, you are actively shattering your concentration. It can literally take several minutes to fully regain deep focus after just one tiny distraction. At the end of the day, true productivity only ever comes from single tasking. All right, so now that we've tackled the external distractions and our somewhat messy work habits, we really need to turn our spotlight inward. Because improving your focus isn't just about throwing your phone in another room. It is deeply, deeply connected to your internal world. When your emotions are unstable, your attention becomes inherently unstable right along with them. Think about these heavy emotional disruptors for a second. Anxiety acts like this giant magnet, aggressively pulling your attention toward future worries and what-if scenarios. Stress acts more like a scattergun, fragmenting your focus across a dozen different concerns so you can't land on just one. And rumination? That traps your precious attention in these endless, unproductive thought loops about the past. If you've ever stared blankly at your computer screen because you were too worried about a personal issue to actually work, well, you know exactly how paralyzing this feels. But here's the good news. We have some incredibly effective calming tools to bring our attention back online. We call these emotional regulation strategies. First, there's simple awareness, just actively noticing that your attention is drifted. Second is naming the emotion. Literally just saying to yourself, I am feeling super stressed right now, actually reduces the intensity of that emotion in your brain. Third, slow breathing. It works wonders to physically calm your nervous system. Fourth, grounding yourself to the physical, present moment. And finally, reframing how you're looking at a difficult situation. Taking just 2 minutes to do this before you dive into a task can completely transform your ability to focus. Which brings us to my absolute favorite, most encouraging part of this explainer. I have some genuinely fantastic news for you. Your attention span is a highly trainable skill. It is not some fixed trait that you are just permanently stuck with. With some gentle, consistent practices, you can actively strengthen your attention, much like you'd build a muscle at the gym. And your magic number to start with? 25. Practicing single tasking is the absolute best training ground for your brain. Choosing just one single task and committing to it fully for 25 minutes of pure, uninterrupted focus is vastly more effective and produces way better work than hours and hours of distracted, fragmented, multitasking chaos. To actually put this into practice, you can use a super simple framework called time blocking. You set up a structure, 25 to 30 minutes of completely focused work, followed by a mandatory 5-minute break. This specific framework is brilliant because it helps your brain stay completely locked in, knowing that a reward, a break, is coming shortly. This completely prevents you from hitting that dreaded wall of mental overwhelm and fatigue. Now, alongside time blocking, you've got to protect your physical space. These quick environmental fixes are absolute game changers. Turn off every single unnecessary notification on your devices. Just do it. Keep your phone completely out of reach and ideally out of sight so your brain literally stops anticipating it. And do whatever you can to carve out a quiet, dedicated workspace. These might seem like small changes, but they act like a fortress, vigorously protecting your attention spotlight from all those external thieves. Next, you want to pair those external fixes with some internal check-ins. Right before you start your 25-minute block, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Reset if you need to. Then, connect your task to meaning. Remember, the brain focuses on what it finds rewarding. If you can link a boring task to a larger personal goal or a core value, your brain becomes so much more willing to engage. And finally, please protect your physical baseline. Drink some water, take actual, real breaks away from your screen, and prioritize your sleep. A rested brain is quite simply a focused brain. As you start applying these tools, I want you to remember one vital principle. Focus is all about consistency over perfection. you are going to get distracted. Your mind is absolutely going to wander. That is completely 100% human. But every single time you notice your mind wandering and you gently, without any judgment, bring it back to the present task, you are literally doing a bicep curl for your brain. You are successfully training your attention system.
Ultimately, your attention dictates your reality. It completely shapes your thoughts, your emotions, and how you experience your entire life, moment by moment. So I want to leave you with this final, powerful question. Is your attention currently aligned with what truly matters to you? Because when you finally learn to guide your spotlight intentionally, you don't just get more work done, you gain clarity, you gain control, and you find a much deeper sense of purpose in your everyday life. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and I really hope you take these tools and start reclaiming your focus.